Hello and welcome to Raju Notes channel, your pit stop for weekly current affairs updates. The updates tailor-made for students taking all kinds of competitive exams like UPSC, civils, defense and placement interviews. Please subscribe to the channel and stay updated every Sunday. The fifth round of Foreign Office consultations between India and Fiji was held this week in Suva. The Indian side was led by Secretary East in the Ministry of External Affairs Saurabh Kumar, and the Fijian side was led by Mr. Yogesh Karan. During the consultations, both the sides reviewed the entire gamut of the bilateral relations covering political, economic, defense, cultural and consular matters and discussed a way to further strengthen the close bilateral ties between India and Fiji. The two sides also exchanged views on regional and global issues of interest and agreed to enhance their cooperation in the multilateral fora. The next round of consultations will be held in New Delhi. India and China held the 16th round of Corps Commander level talks on Sunday for over 12 hours as two sides attempted to revive the stalled process of disengagement and de-escalation in the eastern Ladakh. Talks began at 9:30 am on the Indian side at Chushul border personal meeting point and ended around 10 pm. The Indian side was led by Lieutenant General Anindya Sen Gupta, 14 Corps Commander. While an agreement for the disengagement from patrolling point 15 was close by, in the last few rounds of the talks, China's refusal to discuss other friction areas like Demchok and Depsang, maintaining that they were not a part of the current standoff, has stalled any progress. India has been insisting on a comprehensive disengagement and de-escalation to end the ongoing standoff in eastern Ladakh. Since the standoff began in May 2020, the two sides have so far held around 15 rounds of talks, with disengagement undertaken from both sides of Pangong Tso in February 2021 and from PP-17 in the Gogra hot spring areas in August, in addition to Galwan in 2020 after the violent clashes. The 15th round of Corps Commanders talks took place on March 11, 2022. These have also been talks at the political and at the diplomatic level. Young Indian Grandmaster R. Pragnananda won the Parasin Open A Chess Tournament 2022 in Siberia on Saturday. Scoring 8 points from 9 rounds, the 16-year-old remained unbeaten and finished half a point ahead of the field. The Alexandra Predke took the second spot with 7.5 points. The Olympiad-bound Pragnananda was in superb form, winning his first 6 games before Predke held on for a draw in the 7th round. Teenage Grandmaster also recorded wins over the other Grandmasters from India, Bulgaria, Kazakhstan and was in a red-hot form and left the field behind to end half a point ahead of the strong field. The teenage prodigy will be part of the strong India B team in the 44th Chess Olympiad to be held near Chennai from July 28. PV Sindhu won the first Super 500 title of her career when she defeated the reigning Asian champion Wang Zhiyi of China 21-9, 11-21, 21-15 in the final of the Singapore Open on Sunday. President and Vice President have congratulated ace shuttler PV Sindhu for winning Singapore Open 2022 tournament for the first time. Phase 1 of the DigiYatra project, which allows passengers to check in at the airport using the facial recognition technology, will be kicked off at airports in Bangalore and Varanasi on 15th of August this year. Under the DigiYatra project, a passenger will pass through various checkpoints at the airport through paperless and contactless processing using facial features to establish the identity, which would be linked to the boarding pass. In its second phase, the DigiYatra project will be rolled out at 5 major airports, basically Pune, Vijayawada, Delhi, Kolkata and Hyderabad by March 2023. DigiYatra provides a decentralized mobile wallet-based identity management platform which is cost-effective and addresses privacy and the data protection issues. DigiYatra Foundation, also called as DYF, will be a pan-India entity and the custodian of the passenger ID validation under process this project. DYF was set up as a joint venture company in 2019 under Section 8 of the Companies Act 2013, wherein the Airport Authorities of India hold 26% of the shares, while the private operators of the airport in Bengaluru, Delhi, Hyderabad, Mumbai and Kochi will be owning the remaining 74% of the shares. The DRDO transfers the indigenously developed defense technologies to Indian industries by signing the license agreement of transfer of technology. Till date, DRDO has entered into 1,464 transfer of technology agreements with industries. The government is looking for collaboration with a foreign engine company for co-development and co-production of the combat jet engines, which will have the thrust higher than 80 kilonewtons for India's advanced medium combat aircraft. The share of the foreign procurement in the total defense procurement in 2021-22 was 36.25% as compared to 41.18% in 2019 and 2020. The Hangzhou 2022 Asian Games have been postponed due to the concerns over the COVID-19 pandemic. The Chinese city was scheduled to host the games from September 10th to 25th this year, but a decision now has been taken to delay the Olympic Council flagship event. The Asian Youth Games, due to be held in China's city of Shantou from December 20 to 28 this year, have also been cancelled. The OCA has announced that China is currently battling against a rise of COVID-19 cases, with the ongoing situation cited as the chief reasons for the decision to be postponed. Cities such as Shanghai have been placed in strict lockdowns as part of the country's zero COVID approach. The OCA confirmed the name and the emblem of the Hangzhou 2022 will remain unchanged despite the delays. India's cumulative COVID-19 vaccination drive surpassed the 200 crore milestones on Sunday. It took the country almost 9 months to reach the 100 crore mark and another 9 months to touch the 200 crore vaccination mark since the start of the drive on January 16, 2021. With the highest single-day vaccination recorded at 2.5 crore doses achieved on September 17, 2021. The nationwide vaccination program was launched on January 16, 2021. India's free and voluntary nationwide vaccination exercise was also being carried out in the citizen-friendly approach through initiatives such as Har Ghar Dastak, workshop, workplaces, COVID-19 vaccination centers, also called as CVCs, school-based vaccination and vaccination of persons with no identity documents near to the home, and the CVCs by the mobile vaccination teams have also contributed to this success. India's first human-carrying platform, pilotless drone, made its debut in New Delhi in the presence of Prime Minister Narendra Modi. The makers of this indigenous pilotless Varuna drone startup, Sagar Defense Engineering, demonstrated this in his presence. This Varuna drone has been designed and developed by a startup and has the capacity to carry one person inside. This drone has been specifically made for the use by the Indian Navy. Varuna has been developed in two parts. One being the technology which helps it to land and take off from a moving warship, and the second being the platform itself. The landing and takeoff of the technology was being developed in tandem with the Indian Navy DSR along with the NTDAC, Naval Technology Development Acceleration Cell. Also, 30 such drones which can land and take off from warships have been delivered to Navy. And it is also the first time ever that the Indian Navy is inducting drones on warships. Initially, it can be used for moving, transferring of materials. There are also 4 autopilot modes which helps the drones to continuously fly even if some of the fans fail to function. This new vehicle has the capability to be used for the intership transfers of material and personnel, and it is capable of carrying out autonomous takeoff and landing even when the ships are moving. It has a range of 25 kilometers with payload of 130 kgs and has an endurance of about 25 to 33 minutes. A Nepali civic group this week submitted a memorandum to the government calling for the reclamation of the land occupied by China. Earlier, in February this year, the Rashtriya Ekta Abhiyan has handed over a memorandum to the United Nations accusing the neighboring country of encroaching on Nepal's land in Humla district. It has also urged the international community to take note of the Chinese land grabbing in the neighboring countries and intervene. The civic body also drew attention to the latest incursions of China, whereby a Beijing side has erected a fence at the Ruila border of Chumanubari rural without the coordination with the opposite side. After the example of Sri Lanka, now I think it's time Nepal recognizes the nefarious intentions of China, with which it was siding and picked up border disputes with India under the Oli government. The European Union's plan to reduce the bloc's natural gas use by 15% to prepare for a potential cutoff by Russia this winter received sharp skepticism this week from the governments of Spain and Portugal, which are usually big supporters of the bloc. The governments in Madrid and Lisbon said they would not support the initiative announced by the European Commission. The proposal would start with voluntary reduction, but the EU's head office also wants the power to make 15% saving mandatory in event of EU-wide energy emergency. Spain and Portugal said making reductions obligatory was not a non-starter. They noted that there are scant energy connections linking them to the rest of the Europe and that they use very little Russian gas compared to fellow EU members such as Germany and Italy. So there are already cracks in the European Union as far as Russia, the gas, is concerned. Draupadi Murmu is the new President of India. She defeated the opposing candidate Yashwant Sinha in elections. Murmu, age 64, is first Adivasi and a second woman to become the nation's first citizen and the supreme commander in the Indian Armed Forces. Here are 5 things which you should know about the new incumbent of the Rashtrapati Bhavan, who takes off the office at the historic 75th year of national independence. Born into a Santal family in 1958, she was the first girl in the Upar Beda, Odisha's backward Mayurbhanjan district. Before beginning her career in politics, Murmu was a teacher at Sri Aurobindo Integral Education Centre and later worked as a junior assistant in the irrigation and the power department of Orissa government in 1997. She also served as a councillor after winning the local elections. She was elected in 2 terms in the Odisha Assembly in 2000 and 2004 and served as a minister from 2000 to 2004 in Chief Minister's Naveen Patnaik's BJD-BJP coalition government. She held the portfolio of Commerce and Transport and subsequently Fisheries and Animal Husbandry in the state government. Murmu also served as the Vice President of BJP's Scheduled Tribe Morcha. Murmu was sworn in as the first woman Governor of Jharkhand in 2015. Murmu beat the opposition candidate Yashwant Sinha, winning nearly twice as many votes. Russian President Vladimir Putin also congratulated Murmu. A confluence of culture and commerce, the 10-day mega festival has been planned in line with Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi's emphasis on the importance of Vietnam as key to India's Act East policy. According to an official release, a part of the celebration of the 75 years of India independence, Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav, the festival will also mark 50th anniversary of establishment of diplomatic relations between India and Vietnam. Prominent Bollywood producer Rahul Mitra will lead the Indian delegation to the Namaste Vietnam festival. Indian Ambassador Pranav Verma and the Consul General of India Dr. Madan Mohan Sethi will be hosting the festival with activities ranging from events, workshops and meets pertaining to culture, trade, investment, education, health and tourism. Apart from reconnecting the entrepreneurs on the both sides post-COVID to expose business opportunities in different sectors, the festival will also create awareness on India's diverse culture. Italy's President Sergio Mattarella dissolved the parliament on Thursday, triggering snap elections of the country. Prime Minister Mario Draghi earlier had resigned. The national elections will take place on September 25th. Draghi's resignation came after several key parties in his coalition boycotted a confidence vote in the government. The centrist leader's resignation came despite his heavy popularity among many inside the country and support from the world leaders, who viewed him as an important European voice standing up against Russian President Vladimir Putin in his war in Ukraine. Draghi's resignation not only presents a challenge for the future of Italy but also for the Europe. With Draghi's resignation and its government dissolved, Italy will now have to wait for elections to pass any reforms and to pass the 2023 budget. The crisis will affect ordinary Italians, as without a functioning government, Italy will not be able to access billions of euros from the European Union's COVID-19 fund. One of the most bizarre discoveries made by the team of scientists from the University of Miami is a brine pool that can immediately kill anything that swims into it. The team made the discovery using a remotely operated underwater vehicle at a depth of about 1770 meters, discovering the brine pool during the last 5 minutes of the 10 hours robot dive at the bottom of the Red Sea. A brine pool is a depression in the seafloor which is filled with highly concentrated salt water which is roughly 3 to 8 times saltier than the surrounding ocean. The brine pool has no oxygen, which means that any fish that swims into it is instantly stunned or killed. They also contain poisonous chemicals such as hydrogen sulfide. Brine pools also have a preservative effect, as the researchers once found a crab inside a brine pool that had been dead for 8 years but still had its soft tissue intact. Brine pools are home to a large number of microbes and are surprisingly rich in biodiversity. The fact that they can survive in this harsh environment can help scientists understand the limits of life on the Earth and in the solar system. Ranil Wickremesinghe took oath as the President of Sri Lanka on July 21st, while Dinesh Guruvardene took over as the Prime Minister. Ranil Wickremesinghe became Sri Lanka's 9th President after winning the presidential poll on Wednesday, that is July 20. He raked in 134 votes. Ranil Wickremesinghe assumed the President chair amidst a massive protest against him. Earlier, his private residence was set on fire and his official residence, when he was the Prime Minister, was stormed by the protesters who demanded that he step down. Right after winning the elections on Wednesday, he addressed the Speaker and sought permission from the Speaker to take oath outside the Parliament chamber within the Parliament complex. He assured the opposition that he would work with all parties to bail Sri Lanka out of the unprecedented economic crisis. Let's wait and see its recovery as India stands by its side. Lesson learned is, if you look towards China, you end up looking towards your disintegration. Russian and Ukrainian officials have signed a deal to allow the grain export from the Ukrainian Black Sea port. The agreement would help ease a global food crisis. The neighboring warring countries are among the world's biggest exporters of food, but Russia's invasion led to a de facto blockade of Black Sea, resulting in Ukraine's export dropping to a sixth of their pre-war level. The signing ceremony took place in Istanbul. Friday's deal means around $10 billion worth of grain will be available for sale. The agreement is valid for 120 days and may be automatically renewed without further negotiations. According to a UN official, under the agreement, a coalition of Turkish, Ukrainian and the UN staff will monitor the loading of grains into vessels in Ukrainian ports before navigating a pre-planned route through Black Sea, which remains heavily mined by the Ukrainians and the Russians. The Russians and Ukrainian sides will also withhold attacks on any of the commercial vessels or ports engaging in the initiative to transport the vital grains. Now quickly, let's see what happened this week in history. July 16, 1918, Tsar Nicholas II and his family are executed. On this day, 104 years ago, Tsar Nicholas II, his wife, his 5 children were executed by the Bolsheviks under Vladimir Lenin, bringing an end to 3-century-old Romanov dynasty in Russia. Nicholas and his family were told they were being taken for a photo shoot to the cellar and then lined up and shot at 103 times. Their brutal murder is one of the most tragic and haunting events happening in the last century. In 1981, Nicholas was declared as a martyred saint. July 18, 1918, Nelson Mandela is born. On this day, 104 years ago, was born Nelson Mandela, who led the emancipation of South Africa from white minority rule and served as its first black president. He was imprisoned for 27 years, often under tiring conditions, but the struggle never robbed the world's famous prisoner of his humanity. His message of reconciliation, not revenge, continues to inspire the world. An international emblem of dignity, Madiba taught the 21st century how to fight, lose, win, forgive, and smile. July 19, 1827, Mangal Pandey is born. On this day, 195 years ago, Mangal Pandey was born, a sepoy in the 34th Bengal Native Infantry of the East India Company. Pandey in 1857 rebelled against his British officers less than 2 months after he was hanged. The Great Indian Rebellion of 1857 broke out. Though Western historians treat his act as one of the random, drug-fueled violence, India celebrates Pandey as its first martyr of the First War of Independence, which united Hindus and Muslims soldiers against a common enemy known as Britishers. July 20, 1848, Seneca Falls Convention concludes. On this day, 174 years ago, Seneca Falls Convention, the world's first formal gathering to support women's rights, concluded. It released the Declaration of Sentiments, modeled on the US Declaration of Independence. It held that a man should not withhold a woman's rights, take her property, or deny her right to vote. The 200 path-breaking women of this convention sent out a clear message to the men of the world that they would not be silenced anymore. July 21st, 1905, the Partition of Bengal is announced. On this day, 117 years ago, the decision to partition Bengal was announced by Viceroy George Curzon. The partition was supposed to weaken the budding nationalist movement in India and stoke communal divisions. However, it heralded a new phase of national spirit in the form of Swadeshi and boycott movements. As the demand for reintegration refused to die, the British eventually caved in and reunified Bengal 6 years later. But the seed of India's partition had been sown by then. July 22, 1942, Holocaust begins at Warsaw Ghetto. On this day, 80 years ago, mass deportation of Jews from the Warsaw Jewish Ghetto began. Between July and September 1942, around 250,000 Jews from the ghetto were gassed to death by Nazis. Though they knew they will ultimately fail, a band of Jewish resistance fighters armed with homemade weapons launched a heroic uprising against the Nazi regime. If they had to die anyway, they would rather die with dignity. Heroism in hell followed. Well, that's all friends for this week's update. See you soon next Sunday on the same channel. Stay updated. Take care. Bye bye.